How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of TIER Talk. As promised, we are going to revisit the Rihanna case. I hope I say her name correctly, guys. Don't get upset. I believe it's Rihanna. But with that said, today we want to focus more on the suspect of the shooting. And her name is Ivana Lisette Ortiz. And when I first did the video on this case, I saw what I thought was something emotional, someone driving up to the house in a Tesla shooting at the house. At first, I thought maybe a scorned lover. I kind of pictured maybe wrongfully, maybe A$AP Rocky had kind of strayed a little bit, and this could have been a scorned lover or an obsessed fan. But then when I started seeing the videos, and like everybody else, you start to see what looks like mental health concerns. Definitely easy for me to recognize working in a prison. Definitely probably easier for you to recognize. I think the conversation changes a bit. And what we want to do today is provide a perspective so we can get a better understanding of the suspect. And I think that does matter. I know some people may say, you know what, she did something horrendous. She could have killed. We know, but we want to learn. And to be honest with you, prevention comes in your ability to be able to look at things objectively, with an understanding that sometimes it's not in an effort to forgive or minimize, but rather to understand so it doesn't happen again. So, Doc, I'm sorry, Miss Scott, do you mind introducing yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Siobhan Scott. I'm a psychotherapist and author from Portland, Oregon, and I have a strong interest in victims' rights and prevention of crime. I've worked in forensic programs, and so I do a lot of true crime commentary.
Yeah, we love having you. And guys, I've done a couple of videos on this, so we're going to go right in. If you're not familiar with this case, please check out my playlist. You'll see that we learn as we progress as well. I am going to show some videos again today because I got to have your input on this. But first, let me just show one video from the news that kind of tells us where we're at now. It looks like Rihanna is looking to leave. And I think she already has, actually. So this is a video of her packing up. And I think she was already on a plane in Van Nuys. And I don't know where she went. But for obvious reasons, she's probably in fear. So I want to show you guys this video.
Bags packed, her team surrounding her. Rihanna made her escape from Beverly Hills just hours after this woman allegedly shot up her home with an AR-15 style weapon.
Shooting just occurred, 10 gunshots fired from the vehicle.
TMZ with the new video of Rihanna's motorcade leaving her 90210 neighborhood.
One second.
A caravan of cars with blacked out windows heading down the street. Then Riri and her entourage spotted around 3:30 yesterday at the Van Nuys, California airport, getting ready to board this private jet.
I believe the shots came from across the street.
The accused shooter, Ivana Ortiz, seen here on Facebook, is still locked up behind bars, held on a $10 million plus bail after being booked for attempted murder. Today, a source tells people the incident was terrifying for Rihanna. She doesn't understand why someone would target her family.
The way that Rihanna wants to kill me, she's the one who wants to kill me.
That's Ortiz 2 months ago, holding the praying woman's journal in her hand and spewing scary, unhinged messages towards the pop superstar.
Listen, Rihanna, when you die, God is taking me to my future. Yeah, she's a witch. She's a witch. I'm a watchman. She's a witch. Get that stupid girl out of here.
1 month later, another disturbing post.
I keep telling her to stop harassing me. To stop harassing me. And she keeps doing it.
But the charges related to the shooting at Rihanna's home are not Ivana's first brush with the law.
She's had several prior run-ins.
We spoke with Daily Mail senior correspondent Kayla Brantley.
In 2023, she was arrested on suspicion of domestic violence and battery. And police say that this was an incident involving an ex-partner during a custody exchange in front of her child. Records also show that she has had multiple arrests in Florida, including a careless driving arrest in 2021.
Only a couple of weeks ago, Rihanna shared this video from her home, her 2-year-old son Riot in a Mardi Gras costume. People now reporting a source as saying thankfully everyone is safe following the incident, Even with a great security team in place, it's scary to realize that something like this can still happen.
As of now, there's over a $10 million bond set or bail bond. And there's some rumors about how many people were in the house. It's not really confirmed. Some people say there were 10. It looks like it's starting to be confirmed that Rihanna was in there with her kids, but A$AP Rocky wasn't. But I've been watching some news reports. So some people even said that there were 10 people in the house. That's $1 million for each person. I don't know where they're getting all this from, but she is being charged with attempted murder. And there is 10 people in the house at the time, let's just say. That could be 10 separate charges. I mean, thank God they weren't outside playing in their yard. Now, there's a little glimpse of a video there, but if you don't mind, before I have like 10 questions for you, I wanted to show you just a few more videos to give you some more insight. So I have 3 videos to show you. One is from Matt Thibodeau, and he's got some videos here. Again, guys, if you guys haven't seen the videos, I definitely recommend you go to YouTube or Facebook. We can't obviously show you every video, but we'll give you some good ones that, you know, I think are concerning. Okay, so this is one. Can you see this on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
A lot of people have been wondering what Ivana Ortiz's motive for firing at Rihanna's mansion in Beverly Hills with an AR-15 style rifle was. According to Ivana's social media pages, it seems like she is, 1, suffering from some sort of mental health issues, and 2, probably just a hater. On February 17th, 2026, she made this post right here saying, when Drake finds out that Rihanna has AIDS. On February 24th, 2026, she makes another post right here tagging Rihanna saying, are you there? Because I was waiting for your 5-head self to say something to me directly instead of sneaking around like you're talking to me where I'm not at. She also posted several very strange and cryptic videos talking about Rihanna. It seems like she was doing some sort of tarot reading or something with cards. I'm going to play those videos for you guys right now. Take a look and let me know your thoughts at the end.
They're from Satan, aren't they? So that's Satan. He just wants to kill something beautiful. Just like his Rihanna. They just want to kill something beautiful, but they can't. You saw Rihanna? You saw her picture? She has a very big forehead and an ugly, ugly nose. That's God's judgment on her. I keep telling her to stop harassing me. To stop harassing me. And she keeps doing it. She keeps harassing me. And I already bought stock in Ulta, and I have staked in Ulta. So now those energies can't harass me when I go into Ulta anymore. When I go into Ulta, the devil tries to antagonize me or instigate against me by the pictures on that are there. But you know what? I bought steak in there, and I said, you know what, forget you. This is mine too. This is mine too. You're not going to be throwing bad energy at me when I'm coming to the store. So I went and I bought stock. And then when I went in there, I saw Rihanna. She looked so bad. That's the judgment of God. And I thank God for that.
Hey, guys.
So, you know, let's stop there for a second because there's a lot there. What do you get from what she's saying? I mean, I think it's a bit all over the place, but I'm sure from your mental perspective, you're seeing something.
Oh, it's an easy call. This is one of the easiest calls I've had in a long time. You've got a major mental illness here. It's not just a mental issue. This is major mental illness. This is psychosis. It's a brain disease. I consider psychosis a category 5 hurricane. This is a person who needs to be in the hospital. The problem with this kind of psychosis is she's paranoid. And when psychotic people become paranoid, they misinterpret the other people in the environment, and they come up with these delusions, which are false thoughts that other people are doing something to them, and they become very frightened, very angry, and that's when they're at risk of violence. So this person has probably been building up to this for a very long time. She's been dangerous for a very long time, and I can, give an hour-long lecture about psychosis and the conditions that cause it, but just in a nutshell, you're either looking at schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or a very common cause that we see a lot is methamphetamine-induced psychosis. And sometimes it's hard to differentiate which one of those it is, but I would call that it's one of those three.
Now, when you say paranoia, I see confidence, though. Does paranoia come in different forms? Because she looks a little confident, right?
You can be very confident but very paranoid. The paranoia is Rihanna is doing something to me, or Rihanna is trying to kill me, or Rihanna doesn't even know who she is, right? She's not on Rihanna's radar. So this is bizarre. But clinically, paranoia, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're trembling in fear. They can be very confident. And in fact, they usually come off very angry, but it's other people are doing things to them. We see this in a lot of mass shooters who are going out after people of color, or they're going out after Jews. They'll target the synagogue. And that's all about they're doing something to me. So whenever you hear this flavor of I'm being persecuted and it's bizarre, it doesn't make any sense, there's no way it's happening, that's a psychotic paranoid delusion. And that's when people have the potential to act out in dangerous ways.
So I got a couple of questions. I want to show you a couple. I have 2 more videos left. I wanted to show you this. This one's about a minute long. Here we go. I'm going to zoom in.
I'm fighting with the devil himself. And that's why you got Rihanna over there all jealous. Because how am I? Because her faith is the devil. Rihanna's faith is the devil. Okay? I don't like her, and she's always trying to steal from me. And she has not ever put out any music to reach people. She only did her little music thing so that she can do witchcraft. And so that she can steal from people. So everybody, please, don't listen to her. Don't follow her. Don't give that girl any air, space, or time. Because she's stealing from you. Okay? She's stealing from you. So you guys need to wake up and don't give that girl any attention. They want to come over here and steal my thoughts. But baby, I am over your head. I am intelligent. I'm intelligent to know that when I go to school, what matters is that you do your homework. I don't even got to be talking about my levels in math and calculus. Okay?
It's so... Sorry, there's a commercial. Hold on, let me close that. The thoughts. So I know it was when I was trying to watch the video yesterday, and I will get to the questions, guys. I promise. I was trying to connect the thoughts. I thought maybe, when you have paranoia, I guess, and you tell me, I don't know, Rihanna or Rihanna, however they want to call it. It seems like everybody's calling her something different, but why her? I thought maybe something went from jealousy and hatred and then developed into some level of, or partnered with the delusion or something, because how would some singer she never met become the center of this? And I'm assuming if you checked Rihanna's DM messages, I could pretty much say she probably flooded her with messages. Correct? You think so?
It certainly could be if you can reach her that way. And really, what you're showing, you've got religiosity, grandiosity. She thinks she's really special, right? And Rihanna can't compete with her because she's above that. The delusions about Satan and God and mixing all that in with this craziness. And the one thing I would caution you, when you hear a psychotic person, you will want to make sense out of what they're saying, but you can't. It makes no sense. And that's another thing. It's called disorganized thinking or flight of ideas. The ideas bump from one thing to another thing to another thing. They're tangential. They're not connected. And so when you try to listen to them and go, well, what's the backstory here? How can this make sense? It makes no sense. And sometimes it gets so loose. The associations between thoughts are so loose, you can't even track it. You try to take notes about what they're saying, and your notes go all over the place because it's like they bounce from this to this to this to this. And why Rihanna? Who knows? It could be a fluke that she heard a song on the radio that just clicked something with her. And folks like this often become fixated on celebrities. I had a client once who was very psychotic, bipolar disorder, and he came up with the belief that he was married to Whitney Houston and fully believed it and went around telling everybody this and started trying to stalk Whitney Houston and had it started with a crush. I mean, there was no way of knowing, but yeah, he ended up institutionalized and in a hospital. And that's none of what you're showing me is unusual to me. It's why I can smile about it. I mean, it's horrible, it's terrible, but I've heard this kind of thing so many times.
Yeah, I feel like there's some jealousy there, maybe at Rihanna, her success, whatever it is, whatever it is. But then there's this delusional belief she's the devil.
Yeah.
Is there something where you have something that could start off as what could be jealousy, maybe a little bit logical to some extent, even though it's illogical by the fact that she's a celebrity, knows nothing about her. But let's just say just jealous of someone for their success, but then goes into this whole level of she's the devil. Because my biggest concern, and you'll see it in this other video I want to show you, this is where I think there was a hint of danger there, is when she says Rihanna's a witch and she's the watchman.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just show you this one more video, because then that puts her in a position to do something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and who's, I mean, at that time, do you know it's going to be violent? But this is the last video I wanted to show you. Oh, I got it louder. Hold on.
You're not the eagle. They will soar high on me. No, Rihanna. No. You're not the eagle. They will soar high on wings like eagles. Rihanna wants to say that we are flying. That we are flying, and we're not. She's not flying. She had a bad day. She looks really stupid and corny. And everyone knows it. But the way that they want to, that girl, the way that Rihanna wants to kill me, she's the one who wants to kill me. The way that Rihanna wants to kill me shows that we're not going to show this right now. But this is my heart, Lord, and I am expecting and waiting in that beautiful time for you to show me what you're going to do and how you're going to deliver this promise. It's in my heart and it's in my vitality, and I'm very, very grateful to you for your abundant graces. Listen, Rihanna, when you die, God is taking me to my future. You want to kill me. Shut the up, okay? Shut the up. Yeah, she's a witch. She's a witch. I'm a watchman. She's a witch. Get that stupid girl out of here. Okay? They can't do this. They can't do this. What about my hands? What about these fingers over here? What about these 3 fingers? What about it? What about it? No, you're not here. You're rebuked. And even if you're here, there are many in this realm. There are many in this realm, and you are rebuked, and Jesus is the king, and you're just kicking and screaming on your way out and perishing. It's embarrassing.
What? So, I mean, that I thought had, that I thought had a lot. Let me get you back in. Lost for a second. That I thought had a lot there. Like, I see that she's got the, that witchcraft, the evil, but then she also attacks Rihanna as a person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's all over the place, and it's not going to make a bit of sense. Right. You're going to hear the repetitive themes of the grandiosity. You know, Ivana's, you know, better than everybody. Rihanna's ugly. You've got that theme, the grandiosity. You've got the religiosity, combining God and Satan and angels and who knows what else. And the paranoia, Rihanna's trying to kill her. And you just put it in a blender, right? Turn it on, and that brain is cranking this stuff out, and it doesn't make a bit of sense. And just based upon those videos that you showed me, she needed to be in the hospital at that point. This is a person who's very, very ill and potentially dangerous. And I'd love to know how she got her hands on an AR-15, but this is the country that we live in, where very mentally ill people get weapons of war, and they do very scary things with them.
That's a great question. Obviously, that it was unique when we thought it was just a scorned lover or whatever it was, but now it's even more so heavy when you're trying to figure out with someone with those type of mental health concerns, how did she get that weapon? I do have some questions that were sent my way that I thought I can ask you. This comes from the audience. I think I gave you a nice little backdrop, some videos there to pull from. So I want to start at the beginning of what we know about Ivana Lisette Ortiz before Rihanna was ever a target. So on paper, she's a 35-year-old Florida professional, but over time we see financial collapse, domestic violence involvement, where she's the one arrested, and a family court battle where a judge hears concerning testimony about her mental health and ultimately takes away her contact with her own child. She also acknowledges being placed under an involuntary psychiatric hold in Florida under the Baker Act. Looking at the cluster of events, bankruptcy, domestic violence charges, and involuntary psychiatric hold, and then losing all contact with her child, how would you frame what might have been happening with her mental health and coping long before the shooting?
Yeah. These illnesses typically manifest, you may have a normal child, and then in adolescence, they get a little different. You see these early symptoms, and it's usually late adolescence through late 20s when these symptoms really start to manifest and become noticeable, when the psychotic episodes start happening. And so that would probably fit her timeline. If she's 35 now, and let's say over the last decade, she had been gradually deteriorating. The psychotic episodes sometimes only happen occasionally. It depends on which disorder it is. Bipolar disorder, people may fluctuate and have periods of time when they are fairly normal and they do well, and then they go manic, and that's when they become psychotic. Schizophrenia is more progressive, and I'm not sure, just based upon this, I don't know that we can tell which is most likely, but the fact that she was put on a Baker Act hold indicates that this is not the first time she's been in a very severe psychotic state.
Yeah, and they took her away from her child, which I know is not a decision they do lightly. So she must have been an actual threat to her child.
Yes.
Curious to see, I would love to see if the news is going to talk to her family or people that know her. I mean, I know they were talking to her ex-boyfriend or whatever he was, and he was basically saying that she's very smart. She is a pathologist. She's very well. She's articulate, which I believe you can see. She is articulate. Mm-hmm. But again, you just never know. But I'm sure people maybe around her could have noticed. And now this is a question. I think it's tough, but I want to be fair. Even though she is the suspect for what she did, and I'm not minimizing that, could you also see her as a victim?
Well, she's certainly a victim of her brain. And just as Nick Reiner, who murdered his parents, and I think he's never going to get out of prison again, rightfully so. But he's a victim of his brain, because major mental illness, nobody gets up one morning and says, gee, I want to have schizophrenia today, or I want to have bipolar today. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible brain illness, but that doesn't mean that you're not responsible for what you do when you hurt someone. You may never be free again, but it may be that rather than prison, a mental health institution where you're managed and you're locked up, and that may be the rest of your life, you'll be in an institution like that. That may be the most appropriate placement. In fact, she's so psychotic at this point, if they can't give her some meds and clear her up while she's in jail, she may not be fit to stand trial. She may not be competent. She does not appear to be right now.
Yeah, let me. I promise you guys, I'll get to your question. I want to ask. So you're a mental health professional, so obviously you understand the complexity of the mind, and you understand that sometimes people truly are not in control of their choices, and it's hard to see it that way when they could have hurt somebody, because you're not minimizing what they've done. You're not, saying, hey, like you just said, the person, they are a danger. But at some level, they're also a victim to their own mind.
Yeah.
Can people that are watching this, I do see some people, there's a bit of a divide here, but can you feel some level of compassion for her where, like, if you did, let's say, see her locked up for life, would you kind of have some level of, I don't know, empathy towards her, even though she did what she did and could have killed, Rihanna, her family? I mean, is there compassion here?
Yeah, and that's where we have to think complexly about complex things. We can hold two truths at once. One is that this person is a victim of a terrible brain disease that they did not wish upon themselves. It's hereditary, right? Just as people get diabetes and we don't blame them for that, right? Or they get a brain tumor. We don't blame them for that. This is a brain abnormality, and we can have tremendous compassion for it. However, on the other hand, we've got to protect society and we've got to protect people around them. You wouldn't want a person like this as your neighbor, right? You wouldn't want them teaching your kid at school. And so we've got to do both things, which is protect the community from dangerous people, but at the same time, treat them with respect and compassion and do our best. We can do some pretty good things with psychiatric drugs now and do our best to catch these things. This is my passion in life. Catch folks who are psychotic back when they're 18, 19, 20, get them into treatment and stop it from progressing to the point where they get this bad and they hurt other people.
Yeah, like for Rihanna, obviously she was the target, so I don't see her being forgiving at all, even though she knows, there is a mental health component. The point is she was still a target. And at the end of the day, for those that may feel compassionate towards the mental health component here, you weren't the target. So, you don't know how it is to be on the other side when, I don't care if she's sick or not, she shot at my family. And that's the big thing here. It's about the family, protecting her family. So whether she's sick or not, I may not be able to feel compassion for that because my number one concern is my family. And I'm not willing to provide compassion that could put my family at risk.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So,
yeah, but you can have compassion and still say, but you can't get out. You're going to be behind bars because no fault of your own, but clearly you're sick and you're not safe to be out in society.
How I know Rihanna hasn't spoken yet, but how do you think she would see this? Do you think that she would recognize the mental health component, or do you think that she would just have, I don't even care about that. She shot up my home.
It's probably at this point not the first thing on her mind,
Right.
I mean, we would all be absolutely terrified and having our own panic reaction, our own fight or flight and anxiety and get out of town and take your kids and probably have tremendous anger. That would be completely normal. I would have that too. But eventually, as she probably talks this through and gets more information about this perpetrator, which I think would be part of the healing process for her, is coming to understand who is this woman. And I wouldn't be surprised, but she would raise her voice at some point to say, we've got to do better with treatment for the mentally ill before they become dangerous, because that's really the takeaway message here is catch this stuff early.
I like that, and being for someone of her position who went through that and be able to still advocate for that, that says a lot about her. That would be if she's able to do that. And before I get to the next question, is there, because this young lady has this paranoia towards the singer Rihanna, whatever it is there anything that medication or something could do to alleviate that paranoia to where she's not a threat? What about if ever, I'm not saying this would ever happen, guys, but hear me out. What about if while the girl's in jail or prison, whatever, is let's say Rihanna decides, since it is a mental health concern, maybe I want to visit her and see what's going on inside her head. Would that be even part of something that could be really rehabilitative?
I would probably not vote in favor of Rihanna visiting her. I mean, I guess if Rihanna had a need to, fine, but I doubt that she will. Generally, the most effective thing, if not the only effective thing for somebody with a psychotic disorder like this, is antipsychotic medication. And the majority of folks who become psychotic, if you can get them on the right antipsychotic medication and get it taken regularly, they become normal. They become just like you or I. They are no longer delusional. They can look back at some of their behavior and recognize that they were not in their right mind. They don't have those beliefs. and many of them, I've worked a lot with psychotic people in forensic situations. They're nice people. They're wonderful people. And some of them had committed horrible crimes, which they felt terrible about when they were treated. And that's the thing. If you get an 18-year-old who's just starting off with some auditory hallucinations, they're hearing voices, they're having weird delusions, and you get them in to see a psychiatrist and you get them on medication, they never progress, and they may go on and have a career and a family and have a very good life. And that's the difference that treatment makes versus someone like this who has a long period of time where they lose their child, they're institutionalized, they go through a terrible time and they end up hurting people. So that's the difference that medication can make.
And she probably has no insights. I mean, even if she's put on a medication program, what's to say she's going to take it?
Right.
I mean, who
that's
knows what
the
happened
trick.
here?
Yeah, that's the trick. And that's where we need to do. There's so many things as a society we need to do better. But we have forms of medication now that are injectable. So rather than relying that people take a pill once a day, they often don't do that. So you can give an injection once a month with some of the drugs, and then they just have to show up once a month for their medication. It's complicated on how to make this work, because another aspect of psychotic illness is called anosognosia. And what that means is they don't realize they're sick. They're having these crazy thoughts. They're not in control of their brain. They're hearing voices. Sometimes they're seeing visual hallucinations. To them, it's real. And so why would they voluntarily go and see a psychiatrist? They don't, because in their mind, there's nothing wrong with them. The whole problem is external. Other people are doing something to them. And so that's the challenge of I think a lifetime for me is looking at how do we make a system that functions for people who don't realize they're ill, but they're extremely ill, and a certain percentage of them are going to become dangerous. How do we mandate them into treatment when a licensed mental health professional go out and talk to them and say, yes, this is category 5 psychosis, this is potentially dangerous? How do we get them into treatment? We have to change laws at the state level that allow that to happen. And we're not there at this point. So we could do a lot better. But when we see so many of the homeless, I don't know about where you live, but where I live in Portland, Oregon, and I know San Francisco and many of our West Coast cities, we've got tremendous numbers of people living on the street, going hungry, living hellish lives, and they're suffering from major mental illness. And so we need to do a better job of getting these people into mandatory treatment programs where they have to go in and get their shot once a month, right? And that's just not negotiable. And we would see a tremendous improvement in society. Crimes would go down. These kind of scary things that Rihanna went through, we would not see as much of that. We would see fewer mass shootings, because not all mass shooters have major mental illness, but about 20% of them do. And that's a significant number. And so if we could do a better job treating the mental illness earlier with medication, it doesn't mean talk therapy. Talk therapy does not cut it. You may need someone with some counseling skills to coach them to get into treatment, but the treatment actually occurs with a medical doctor, a psychiatrist, who determines what medication is going to clear that brain up.
Yeah, and I don't know if she does have support, but I don't know if she was on any mental health regimen, because I think if she was, people would have seen these videos and would have noticed that she's falling backwards.
Yes.
And I think somebody would have put her in somewhere. So I have a feeling she may be undiagnosed. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But
she was probably diagnosed when she was hospitalized under the Baker Act. She probably got flagged with a diagnosis there, but didn't follow up with treatment. As people, if treatment is optional, they don't follow up. And so they're not being treated. And often folks like this, families, they burn the bridges with their families. The families don't understand. They don't know why they're acting the way they're acting. And so they cut ties with them. And on one hand, I can see the family's point of view, but on the other hand, that's a tragedy, because then they have no one, and they just keep spinning further and further out of control.
And I just find it tough that she's putting this on social media platforms. I don't know how many followers she had, but nobody caught on to this, and nobody tried to get ahead, because you'll get people, you're watching a video and someone says, hey, you have a blotch on your neck. I'm a doctor. That could mean this. And they go to the doctor, they get checked, and they, hey, because I did a video, someone caught something. Thank you so much. Yes. You got this female having this breakdown, and there's got to be people that, I mean, we're watching it right now. And even some of us that, you know, that don't have any mental, but, you know, say something's not right. And if anything, you know, reach out to the PR people of Rihanna and say, hey, I think you may be targeted here.
Yes. Call law enforcement. I have intervened. I'm a big social media person, right? I like connecting with people. I have a lot of social media friends, and I have noticed, because I see patterns in the way people communicate in their writing, and on a few, I'd say 3 cases, I have seen somebody that I've known as a very stable person on social media, and I've seen them witness them having a psychotic break, just as evidenced by the material that they start writing that's very out of character for them. And so I will then private message that person and try to engage them in a conversation, what's going wrong, what's going on, what's going wrong, and then urge them, do you have a doctor? You need to get in and talk to your doctor about what's happening, because I'm noticing you're very angry, you're ranting, you're raving, you're fighting with people. This is uncharacteristic for you. And on a couple of cases, the people did listen to me, did go back in and talk with their doctor. And so, yeah, if you see something weird on social media, and particularly if somebody is talking about killing, weapons, you know, words that are kind of those red flag, this sounds really scary. Even if you just call law enforcement and say, you know, is there a way to make a warning or a report, or for somebody to check up on this person? I think it's a good thing to do. I think as far as Facebook, I think there's a way, I haven't done it, but I think there's a way to contact Facebook if somebody is making threats of harming themselves, or sounds like they could potentially be harming someone else. So I encourage people to be really proactive if they see weird stuff like this. Because if I had seen those videos, right, a few months back, I would have been sounding the alarm. This is a dangerous person.
And the funny thing is, in society, sometimes we figure, hey, it's not our problem. Someone else will go ahead and do it. And that goes to show you, like right now, that they won't. You know, that's the funny thing. I don't know if it's the bystander effect, whatever it is, but unless someone's pointing directly at you to do something, you could always defer it as someone else's problem. And I think stuff like this does go unseen, or not unseen, just no one reacts to it because they assume it's someone else's problem. And then this person makes it through the system, and the person that's dealing with now directly is the target. And as I said, I believe that she definitely would have tried to make contact with her, but then you got to realize this girl's got millions of followers. I mean, she's not going to be able to, and after she even sees it, it probably just gets dismissed. I want to ask, because we talked about this yesterday a little bit. I kind of, as I'm looking at the questions, we're kind of answering it. So guys, your questions have been answered, just may not as specifically as you asked it, but it's there. I wanted to ask something about competency, because you mentioned that. I mean, she's being charged with attempted murder, possibly whoever's in the house, that many amount of counts. I mean, would she even be competent to even go through this process, or were they just declare that even if you make her come? I mean, she definitely had a mental health issue. Why this was happening?
Yeah, I think the thing with competency, can they get her enough in a state of being able to think logically so that she can really understand what has happened and understand the charges against her and cooperate with her attorneys. And
but then out of curiosity, even if they get her to think logically, they can't go back and say she thought logically in the moment, though, right?
Right. And that's where, I mean, it's up to her attorneys to present, you know, an adequate case for her about what was going on with her at the time. And even though she may be competent at the time of trial, it may be that at the time of the crime, clearly she was psychotic, and that may influence the way the sentencing goes. It doesn't mean that she's not going to be guilty, but it may influence, you know, where she is sent and where she's placed.
So I know we discussed it on shows before where, people that do have mental health concerns, I know a lot of people may put the violent stigma on them, but they're not always violent. But the biggest concern is when they start getting commands or that, like you said, the religious delusion. How does that develop? I mean, I see when she's in the video, there's definitely some type of animosity or hatred I'm assuming this, and I could be wrong. I'm assuming jealousy first for whatever reason it is. Who knows? I don't know if the lyrics of the songs are a big thing where she thinks that maybe she's talking directly to her, or every time they're on an interview, she's talking about me. But I see jealousy first. And that I think is a very, however illogical it may be, because it is a celebrity that may know nothing about you. Jealousy is a human emotion. I get it, I get it. And then jealousy could easily turn into hate, anger, and then violent thoughts, possibly. But then if you partner that with a mental health illness, and then she has these beliefs that are delusional, like the religious belief that she's a watchman and this person's a witch. I mean, is this just a series of things that just connected, or was it built from, from that? Was it built from jealousy to this belief that Rihanna's a witch, and that she, in my mind, when she said she's the watchman, I think that's when she's could be the most dangerous.
Right. Yeah, those terms carry obviously significance to her. And people with, when they go psychotic, if they've had a religious upbringing, they very often, their delusions take on the themes of their religion, because that's what's in their head from childhood, right? So a lot of times you'll hear people calling my mother's satanic or demon possessed, or, they sort of fall back on these religious ideas. And it's really hard to track, why do they choose a certain celebrity, or why do they bounce around from one celebrity to another celebrity? Sometimes political figures, they fixate on a famous person, and it's hard to track. Is there a logical reason for it? I mean, it really is sort of like just a mishmash of thoughts that, don't really make a lot of sense. I mean, I've had clients who thought they were dinosaurs. I mean, where does that come from? You're not a T-Rex, right? But I mean, it's like just these bizarre beliefs. People think they're aliens. They, as I say, think they're married to a famous person when they've never even met that person, but they truly believe it. And they've created this, their brain has told them this fantasy story. It's, the human mind is absolutely fascinating. When it goes wrong, it's scary, but it's fascinating.
Yeah, because I had this crazy thought, like basically maybe she was like, let's say, a fan of Drake or somebody, and then or whoever it is, and then eventually they have a love interest with her. Then all of a sudden the jealousy could come in, because I think jealousy, could I be let's say, could I be such an avid fan of somebody that when they do hook up with somebody else, now that person becomes an obstacle. So I get jealous of the person that's now in that person's life. So I may be a super fan of Drake, but I hate Rihanna, let's say, if they were ever a couple. I don't know the backstory here, but what I'm trying to say is that now it's not that I really hate Rihanna. I just love him so much that, I wonder if you look deep, maybe she has feelings for somebody else in which she could have became an obstacle or been seen as the other woman. Because I find it so hard to believe that, and I know you're 100% correct, but it's so hard to believe that this animosity just comes out of nowhere. Like, I just would love to understand how that all originates. I know it doesn't connect.
It would be lovely if we could always connect the dots, but that's one of the things I find with when I was an intern therapist, and I had never really worked with a psychotic person before. And I remember the first one I sat down with, and I take a lot of notes as I'm working, because I'm trying to track the flow and the thought process and, follow the train of thought. And the first psychotic person I was speaking with, I didn't know that was her diagnosis at the time. And I started feeling the room spinning because her thoughts were all over the place and they just didn't tie together in any way, shape, or form. And I looked down at my notes and it's like they were disjointed and weird. And I had to sit with this after the end of the visit. And I go, I think this was psychosis, and bounce it off my supervisor. And she said, yeah, definitely she's psychotic. And so we try to connect the dots and find some logical thread with it. And sometimes you may find a little bit that seems one thing connects to another, but so often you just can't track it.
And if by chance, and this is out of curiosity, if she, thank God she didn't, but if she was, let's say she wind up taking Rihanna out, let's say one of the bullets went through the building and let's say took Rihanna out, I don't want to, careful what I say here, would that have ended the paranoia? No. It would just move to another target. It would be other people. It would not satisfy her in any way. Maybe for an hour, but it's not going to make her not psychotic, and it's not going to make her less paranoid. The paranoia would just attach in a different direction. So, yeah, so if there's a pattern, I know, it's when you're trying to study criminals, it's sad to say, but sometimes you need more than one crime because you have to see where the pattern is and look for consistencies within the pattern to try to get an understanding of motive, a bunch of things, signatures, stuff like that. But you need a pattern. If by chance, let's say, like you said, she moves from one person to the other, whatever the paranoia may be, would you be able to maybe get a better understanding of what it is that these celebrities may all have in common, that she's able to, let's say that you're right. Maybe the thing with Rihanna could, disappear one day, and then it's another celebrity. Would if you were treating her, would you have to find out what links these celebrities together? In some weird logic? No, you wouldn't be treating from that angle. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to look at it. She did mention in one of the videos something about Cardi B, and I think she mentioned one of the Kardashians. Yeah. So, she has a thing about celebrity women, apparently. So, it wouldn't hurt, but treatment is going to have to really address the underlying psychosis first. And until you do that, and she's not psychotic, you're not going to be doing much in the way of talk therapy with her, because it's not going to be fruitful. It's going to be futile, not fruition. Well, I get, yeah. Could the psychosis be rooted in an insecurity? No. I don't think it has anything to do with those psychodynamic things, like whether you feel secure, or all kinds of people. Very intelligent, high functioning people to less intelligent, lower functioning people can get this brain illness, and you really can't tie it to personality factors. It's not really correlated. So I wonder, so for the jealousy, and I know you've got a little time left. So jealousy, when I look at jealousy, I automatically think that obviously feeling inferior definitely is the root of that. And jealousy is a very hateful emotion. At least I believe it is. It leads to so many things that we cover on this channel. But could there be, instead of being jealous, you feel so superior to the individual that, in this case here, maybe she isn't jealous, but she feels that she's so superior, like they're having this life, but technically that life really should belong to me. They're nothing to me. I'm the watchman. They're this. And then I'm wondering, when they develop this, whatever this psychosis, if there's something that is centralized, that even when you start to kind of work her through, that you may have to understand what's the root cause, or what's something that connects everything, that maybe just with the psychosis makes things worse. Well, what I heard from the videos was a lot of grandiosity, seeing that she's better than everyone else. And that is another hallmark of psychosis. People can get very grandiose, and often this is part of bipolar mania, which could certainly tip it in that direction diagnostically, that grandiosity. But we don't know that would be there if she was not psychotic, because in truth,
I don't think that there's a link between a person who's, let's say, somewhat narcissistic and full of themselves. Are they more prone to psychosis? No, they're not. And so it could be that if she was not psychotic, she'd be a very humble, down-to-earth, nice person.
Wow. And it's good to know, because I know when some people develop, like they look for motive, they always look for closure. So now we know, okay, she suffered from a mental health concern. So it's about that. For most people, that is the closure. It is what it is. She had no control of her actions. But then, like me, the question's still going to be, why her though? Like, even if she had a mental health concern, what is it about her that triggered this? Because again, to see someone shoot with an AR-15 at a house, the first thing I thought was definitely something personal. Then to find out, okay, it connects to a mental health concern, then okay, but is there something personal there that just gets escalated more with the mental health concern? Was there something that's already deep rooted that just becomes worse with the mental health? Or is the mental, I guess, the chicken before the egg, whatever it is, or is the mental health the concern for her feelings towards the singer?
Yeah, I think it's the mental illness, the major mental illness, that is fueling all of it. And if she is placed on medication, which I hope she is, can lose the delusions, lose the hallucinations, she may be aghast at her own thinking process, her own behavior, and not be at all prone to any of these ideas that she's been expressing while she's not in her right mind.
Right. So I guess, like, I remember like, treat the sickness, not the person, or treat the person, not the sickness, or like you said, treat both. Can you treat both at once, or is the sickness always the anchor?
Well, the sickness is the person at this point, because the person resides in the brain, and it's a brain illness that's causing it. So you have to look simultaneously. We are treating this person as a human being with a backstory and a life and a potential of some sort. But we're treating a very ill brain, and that will change who we see as the person. It will give you a different person if they're successfully treated.
And one last question before you go. Do you think, even if she does get treated, and let's say she gets herself into a good mental health regimen, will she be fully aware of what she did, or will it be just something she can't recall?
That's an excellent question, because memory can be sketchy. And sometimes when people are extremely psychotic, when they're back in their right mind, it's almost like it was a dream to them, but they only remember bits and pieces of it. And the parts they remember, it really shocks them. I mean, they're shocked at what their brain was doing. And I can think of quite a few people who deeply, deeply regret crimes that they committed when they were psychotic.
Yeah. And again, guys, I just wanted to have this dialogue because, again, everything we talked about here is not to minimize what she did, but to understand it, because I think there's prevention here. I think prevention
That's
comes
the key.
in. Yeah, because I think there were a lot of people that, I don't know how many followers she has, but, and again, I hate, because sometimes when you talk about prevention, you're not trying, these are not on the same scale. Let's just do it that way. It's not on the same scale, but because I don't want to say, oh, they're at fault for not doing anything, but let's just be out, she's got a following. You can clearly see within 5 minutes, she's not all there. How many of us just scrolled past this, as opposed to stopping and doing that simple report on Facebook or social media. And for social media, you got flag words that should have been caught. I mean, she's outright saying, kill, whatever it is, that's supposed to get picked up in the algorithm.
Yeah. And worst case, if you don't know who to report to, if you hear somebody making threats, because we've seen that with mass shooters posting videos on YouTube saying what they were going to do, 1-800-CALL-FBI, right? I mean, it's always, nothing bad's going to happen for making a report, right? You're not going to be in trouble. Make a report. And if there's a person like this they're telegraphing violent intent, they're psychotic, they're scary, make a call. I mean, this is what, as I say, this is what I'm really passionate about is let's stop it before something terrible happens.
Yeah. And for this case, it was tough because I try to see in their head how they justify their behaviors. But to be honest with you, even if they told us, you wouldn't quite understand it anyway, because their mind is sick. You know, there's no, like you said, there's no connection to pretty much anything that you would see as logical.
Yeah.
Anything you like to say in closing? Because I thought this was a unique case, and I would love to revisit it again, because I think there's more that's going to come out once we get to know her a little bit more. But do you actually see her being found guilty, or you think the plea is going to be not guilty, reason of insanity?
I can sure see, guilty but insane. I mean, is that an option, right? Yeah, where she did it, but, you know, certainly taking into consideration, does she go to a forensic, you know, basically prison, but for psychiatric patients? Does she go to something like that versus a regular prison? If she stays as sick as she is now, she belongs in a mental health prison.
Yeah, and I get, guys, for me, I mean, working in a prison, I've seen the people that suffer through mental health concerns, and I really do see people that really have no control of their behaviors. And again, it's not to say they're not responsible, but it is something that, you know, sadly could happen to anyone that has a mental health illness.
It could happen to any one of us. I mean, strangely enough, there are people who don't have a history of psychosis at 40, 50, 60, have a psychotic episode and do things that are very uncharacteristic. So we've all got brains. The brain is just another organ in the body, and things can go wrong. But yeah, I don't want to minimize the violence. I take that very seriously. My heart is with victims, and there are people that are just not going to be safe out in the community, and we have to do the right thing, and for their protection and for the protection of everyone else, they need to be behind bars somewhere.
I agree. The first step is to protect the who was the target, obviously the victim, protect the victim. But then at this point here, why that protection's in place so that person can live their life, then in safety, in a safe and secure manner, you can address the person who sadly may have to live their life behind the wall, but it could still be at some level a fulfilled life within the means of not denying the victim of a life where they feel safe and secured. I think it's a great dialogue. I hope you enjoyed it. And you have anything you'd like to plug at all? I know you got a lot of good books out there.
No, I've got a memoir out, Nightbird, which is my own story of a very unusual life. And if anybody wants to know more about that, it's on Amazon and on sale this week on Amazon. So it's Nightbird, one word.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll partner on a book. It'd be pretty awesome.
That'd be fun. Yeah,
I would like that. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Siobhan. I'll reach out to you again soon to see what else. Maybe we could revisit the Lake and Snelling case.
Okay.
All right. Take care, man.
Take care.
All right,
bye. Bye.
So, guys, it was a great dialogue. I love having her on. So much to learn from her. But I just want to try to present a perspective that is fair to both sides, and that's why I like to have her on. Because, again, it's not to minimize what's been done, but I don't want to run on hype. I don't want to run on just, you know, doing nothing that could be preventive. I want to try to, you know, do videos that have some value in it. And maybe this could be another way to look at the mental health system, because you see the people in the comments here, they feel conflicted, you know, because you obviously look at this video and you see someone has a mental health concern, and some of us see animosity because how could you hurt this pop star? She's amazing. But then some of us could just stop and say, wow, this girl was really sick. And the more you watch the videos, the more you connect to the individual in the videos. So it's tough. I mean, part of me, of course, is like, yo, lock her up. She's a danger. She's a threat. I've been in corrections for many years. I agree with that. But I also seen the other side too, where you have people that truly are have mental health concerns, and you know, they're also a danger to themselves as well. And it's unique to try to balance, I guess, compassion for the suspect in cases like this. That's the hard part. That's the discussion nobody wants to have. You know, people want to stand on either side when at the end of the day, it's somewhere in the middle. You know, it's somewhere in the middle. You know, obviously everything should be centered around the victim. But when they come into the system, like and what I'm used to, you know, we have to deal with that person. And, you know, sometimes you actually see the person and not just the crime. And I think that's kind of where in corrections there's a bit of a unique perspective, because sometimes the crime wears off and you just see the person, and then it's like, okay, well, I am managing the person, not the crime. Even though I do know the crime, don't get me wrong, I know what I need to know for safety and security reasons, but I'm managing the person. I'm not managing the hype. Sometimes we get all these things in the news, and you see this person on the news, and you expect them to come in, you expect them to be this monster, when they're most likely just nothing. They're nothing compared to what the media is painting them out to be. So I'm not saying they don't deserve to be there, because I'm a proponent of the criminal justice system. I love it. I agree with what the criminal justice system is supposed to be about. If it's done the correct way, I agree with that. It should be about the victim and do whatever we can to make sure that people can live a life that they deserve. So I agree with accountability. It's not punishment, it's accountability. And it's also safety and security. But with that said, I also understand the rehabilitative side, because I oversee that part too. And I understand the dedication from the people that do the job, who try to get people to change. But when they deal with someone like this young lady, I think it's going to be a unique approach with her. I think as many people may want to see what she's done. I mean, that's the funny thing. Can you separate the act from the person? I think that's a good question, right? Do all bad acts come from bad people? Or could bad acts just be a bad act, and the person doing it may not be a bad person? I think that's kind of an interesting dialogue. But again, everything I said, I still think the person is a threat to society at this point. But I love your thoughts, because I see both, and I'm trying to approach things as best I can without passing judgment. Hopefully you guys understand that. But as always, guys, you like the content, I do have Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. The link to that is in the description. And as always, guys, stay safe.